Welcome everybody. Hey, it's Chris the Interior Painter, DIY interior painting. Today we're going to be showing you how to finish up red firecracker interior walls and high gloss black interior wood trim. Okay, when we fill up the tray, we're going to use just a little bit of paint. We're going to put that in there. We only want to use about a ½ inch of paint in your tray. That's a 99-cent tray. We're using a 99-cent brush. We really don't need a painting stirring stick. All we need is something out of the recycling bin. You're going to make sure you wipe out the inner lid of the can so you can re-secure it after. That's very important. We don't want to overload the brush when we're dunking it. That's why we only fill up the tray a ½ inch. We want to dunk, tap, tap, and get rid of excess paint that's going to drip. You only want about halfway down the brush bristles. You don't want to mop the paint. Okay, we're going to be starting underneath the beam. There's a small little knot. I'm going to want to jig my brush around that to get it into the bare wood spots. Oil paint flows really well. You don't need a lot on your brush. Just make straight lines down the beam. The bottom is the most hardest part because you have to crouch down and it's an uncomfortable position. Do that first and get it out of the way. Okay, follow down the beam underneath. Add a little bit of paint at a time. Follow it down, keep it off the wall, and draw a straight line. We're using a 99-cent paintbrush. Okay, I had to flip my brush around because there wasn't enough paint on one side. Now we're going to start on the top. We're going to do the same principle as the bottom. We're going to draw straight lines against the wall with our 99-cent brush. Continue down with your brush. I'm going to switch my hands and utilize my left hand as well. While you're painting, you're going to be switching back over from left to right hands when needed. So there you go. Finish off with your left hand, draw a straight line right back down the wood. Now that it's done, we're going to apply our product to the face of the beam, and we're going to gingerly put it on. Oil paint stretches out. Dunk your brush. Dunk, tap, tap. Get off excess paint. We're going to continue down the wood beam with gingerly strokes of the brush. We're going to make sure that you go back over and feather over your work. It's the most important when painting. Look how rich and luxurious that paint looks. Just lightly feather your brush strokes over the woodwork. Go over your woodwork. Look at the graining that you're leaving in the wood using the oil paint and your 99-cent brush. Look at the grain work. That's a professional interior paint job using oil. Just continue down with your brush, leaving your graining with your 99-cent brush. Very simple. Now start on the underneath. Draw straight lines. Flip your brush over to utilize the rest of the paint on the other side. Draw nice straight lines right down that beam against the wall. Dunk your paintbrush occasionally. Do the top, just sweep it down. The oil is really smooth. There you go, you got this. Work on the front of your beam now. Look at the graining you're leaving with that nice china bristle pig hair brush. Dunk, tap, tap. We want to get off the excess paint. Very important. Continue on with the fascia of the beam. Adding the oil paint as needed. Just keep bringing your brush over it and make long stroke marks with your brush to leave the graining in there. That's going to dry. Superb, really nice work. Dab your bristles into the little places that are bare wood. Just flick it around. Now continue on with the beam, the fascia. There you go. Wipe off the drip. You don't have to drip it on the floor. Very simple. Very easy here. Anybody can do this. Look at that job. Now we're going to continue on with the underneath. Draw a straight line down the wall. You may have to flip your brush and utilize the other side where there's still a lot of paint. You can determine that yourself. Continue down easily. Flip your brush around to utilize the paint on the other side. Continue down, drawing a straight line on the underneath of the beam. Anybody can do this. There you go. See how you did it? You did it all by yourself. Now we're getting ready to paint the other portion, which is the top. So we're going to feather it off right now. Turn your brush around, feather strokes down to get the graining in all the way. Don't be afraid. Keep it off the wall. You got this. Look at that. Incredible. Continue down with straight cut lines. Try not to hit the wall. Feather your work back and forth. Utilize the other side of your brush because there's still a lot of paint left. Make simple strokes. The paint glides on there, being an oil paint. You're going to want to feather over your work and leave the graining strokes. Use your other hand and go straight down and utilize the big bristles to leave a graining effect. Continue down the face of your beam, adding paint as necessary. Long brush strokes to apply the product. Dunk your brush, apply the product first, then feather over your work. That's what most painters don't understand. Utilize both hands to get the extra reach instead of moving your whole entire body. Feather over your work is the last proper portion of painting. Is applying the product first. The back and forth motion is applying the product. Now I'm feathering over the work to leave the graining on the woodwork. We want to do that. There's a light spot right there. We want to add a little bit more paint to fill it in. Then after you're done, feather over it, feather it in. That'll dry professionally with quality. Oil products are long-lasting and durable. Last stroke, feather it all the way down to leave the final graining in there. Perfect. Mission complete. Look at that shine. That is incredible. Next, we're going to be working on lightly spot priming the bare wood spots. So you just jig your brush into those areas and put a little black paint on there. Very simple. Anybody can do this. Now we're going to continue on. After we spot prime, we're going to continue on with the underneath of the beam because that's the hardest portion of the job. So start down there, apply the paint, and then work a straight line down the wall. Remember, oil paint is very slippery. You don't need a lot on your brush. We don't want to apply a lot. We want to dunk, dunk, slap, slap. Utilize your bristles, turn the brush around, and leave a nice graining effect on that oil trim. There you go. Now you're done. Now you're ready to go over it one last time to make sure there's no runs, drips, or sags. There you go. Dunk your brush, dunk, dunk, tap, tap to get rid of all the excess paint. Now bring it back up to your wood, utilize your left hand, and continue on straight against the wall, but not touching the wall. Go back and forth. If you miss little spots, you can go right over your work and continue on. Anybody can do this with your 99-cent paintbrush. Now you're going to finish that off and go back over your work to leave the graining in. That is the most important aspect of painting. Do it right the first time. Now we're going to paint the top. We're going to use the same principle as the bottom. We're going to lightly draw a straight line down the top of the beam. Go back and forth if necessary to get any nooks and crannies. There you go. Draw a straight line. Utilize your other hand. Instead of moving your body, move your arms. Your arms are the length of your body, so utilize both hands to paint with. There you go. Now you're going to feather back over everything to blend it in and leave a graining of the paintbrush. Utilize both hands. It's easier to utilize your hands than it is to move your body. See how you're just running the paintbrush over very lightly? Now you have a perfect finished product. Now we're going to start on the face of the beam. Okay, you're going to grab your pig bristle paintbrush. You're going to add paint to your paintbrush, and you're going to apply the product first. Then you're going to feather over it. That's the most important aspect of painting that people don't realize. Apply the product first, then feather over your work really lightly to leave the graining of the paint bristles. Then when it dries, it's going to look like it was professionally painted with no drips, runs, sags, or holidays. A holiday in painting terminology is a miss. Now you've got a professional paint job. Look at the shine on that oil finish. We're going to add a 1/2 inch of firecracker red to our 99-cent tray, and then we're going to wipe off the can with our 99-cent paintbrush. So you want to make sure you wipe off the can so we could reseal the can and put the lid on it. That's very important when utilizing paint cans. Make sure you sweep out the inner edge so we can reseal the paint cover, and we're going to have fresh paint 2 years down the road. What we're looking at here is the world's most inexpensive paintbrush. It's a throwaway 99-cent China bristle, white-haired, pig-haired paintbrush. Okay, here we go on the middle of the patchwork where Alex patched. We joined two 2x4s together, and then we had to patch it. Now, what you're looking at is a flashing spot in painting terminology. It's where the paint absorbs into the patching more so than sitting on the top of the surface of the wood, and that is called flashing. We're going to get rid of that by painting that over right now, and we're going to feather it and blend it in. It's gone. There it goes. Now we're going to feather in long strokes, put the paint on, and feather over your work. That's very important to get the graining of the brush in there. Moving on to the walls, we're going to spot prime all of the patches that Alex patched and then sanded. We're going to lightly stroke over it 1 or 2 times back and forth. That makes sure it gets into all the nook and crannies of the patch. Because remember, the patch will flash if you don't put 2 coats on it like the wood did. We want to do a professional job. Make sure you spot prime before you start painting. Take your brush, dab a little paint, go back and forth over your work. That gets it into the nook and crannies. Very important. Push the bristles of the brush under the 2x4. There you go. You got that. That one is spot prime. Next one, push the bristles under the 2x4, and that is done now. We're going to go over the surface of the wall, and we're going to spot prime all of the imperfection. Continue down the wall to spot prime the rest of the patchwork. Gently apply the paint back and forth to get all the nooks and crannies and the crater marks inside the patch hole that you can't see with the naked eye. Don't worry, go through. If you see any imperfections, just spot prime. Pencil marks, spot prime it. Very good, you got this. Continue down the wall, spot priming all of your patchwork. Don't be afraid. Don't put too much paint on your paintbrush, and lightly go back and forth over the work to fill in all of the nooks and crannies. Check over your work to make sure you haven't missed any spots that need to be primed now, and prime them. Do it right the first time for a perfect finished paint job at the end. Look at your work and how you have done the job professionally. Couple more spots over here. Utilize your paintbrush and let's spot prime the stuff now. If there's a hole, you can just jig your paintbrush in there to fill it in. See the white stuff in there? Utilize your bristles to put a little bit of paint in there and just cover it in like it was never there. Good job. Outstanding. Now you're ready to start on the next phase. If you're going to take a break, make sure you cover your product. Put a piece of plastic inside your roller tray and push it down into the paint along the surface of the paintbrush and up the tray. So when you get back from work or your break, you'll have a nice paint kit ready to go that hasn't dried out. Very important aspect. Okay, now we're going to paint the bottom of the wall next to the baseboard. Start really high and then work your bristles down towards the baseboard. We're not trying to whack the baseboard, we're just trying to paint the wall. So you're going to feather as you go. Dunk your brush a little bit, dunk, dunk, slap, slap. Start high and then draw a straight line on the top of the baseboard all the way down. Very easy, just make straight lines. Go over your work and feather it in. Dunk your brush a little more and continue down in a straight line manner. Always start high, then work your way down to the top of the baseboard and draw a straight line. Dunk, dunk, slap, slap. Continue down on the top very easily. Feather over your work to get rid of any runs, drips, or sags. You got this. Continue down, See how I'm getting it really close to the top of the baseboard, but I'm not touching the baseboard, only the wall. Now you're going to change the angle of your body and use your left hand, because in painting, it's all about angles. Now you're going to draw a straight line down the top of the baseboard. We don't want to whack the baseboard. Go over your work and feather it in. You don't need to use a lot of paint. This paintbrush really slides the paint. We're going to work over to the outlet and we're going to cut in and feather around the outlet, putting a thin, even coat. Utilize those bristles. I'm not getting a speck on the outlet. Notice the quality with the 99-cent brush. Feather over your work, and this area is almost complete. Dunk, dunk, slap, slap. Get the rest of the paint off. The reason why you switched hands is because painting is all angle. Now you're able to simply put your brush into the corner and draw straight lines out. If you were using your right hand, it would be too hard. Utilize both hands. Takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you start doing it, you're going to notice that it saves a dramatic amount of time. Now just draw a straight line down the wall. Start further out and then draw a straight line into the next wall. We're not touching the other wall. We're just staying a fraction of an inch away. It's an optical illusion when you're painting. As long as the line is straight with no waves, you're in like Flynn. Now you're going to bring it down to the baseboard. You're going to angle your brush, and then you're just going to continue to draw the straight line down. You're almost done. Look at, you did it all by yourself. Draw up and feather over your work. Now we're going to start on some more beam cutting work. So you're going to put your brush under there and you're going to get the first couple of bristles to go right underneath the beam. Feather over your work to get out any imperfections. Dunk your brush. Dunk, dunk, tap, tap. Continue down. Shove only 2 or 3 bristles underneath the 2x4. That way you're not touching the red on the black. Alls we're painting is the red right now. Very important. Keep the paint off of the black. Spot prime if needed as you're going by, if you notice any imperfections. Continue on cutting down. Change positions and use your left hand. It's easier to use your arms than it is to move your body. Continue over your work, feathering it in. Dunk your brush. There you go. Continue down. Utilize the tips of the bristle to get them really close to the 2x4 without getting any paint on the black. You got this. Feather over your work. Extremely important. Feather over your work. We want to give at least 2 to 4 inches of cut-in space for the rolling to transpire. There you go. Put the brush up there again. Feather back over your work to get any imperfections. Finish this one area off, and that's done. Feather over your work for the last time. Now you're ready to move on. Next, you're going to start painting the ceiling. We're going to push the bristles of the brush under the light track. That's a lighting system. We're not getting any paint on that lighting system. We're just sending a couple of the bristles underneath. This is a resilient brush, and this is the best brush to utilize to do exactly what we're doing. Feather out your work. Push the bristles under the light tracking, and then feather it all in to blend it in. We don't want to leave any drips, runs, or sags, or holidays. Moving on now, finish your corner off and blend it into the work that we already did prior. Next, we're going to start cutting in the black beam again. Feather over your work. Very important. Bring your bristles, start high, and then work your way down into the crevice with 2 or 3 of your bristles, getting nothing on the black. Jig it down where needed A professional painter's term. Jig it down to get the bristles deep into the crevice without hitting the black beam. Anybody can do this, and you could do it with this 99-cent brush. Shine a bristle. Feather over your work, very important. We want to make sure there's no drips, runs, or sags. We want to blend it in. Continue over. Do the same exact thing underneath. Jig the paint and the bristles up in between the wall and the beam, and you'll always have a professional paint job. Continue around. Utilize your both hands so you can go around the corner. Very good. Now we're going to do the rest. Feather over your work. Now we're going to work on this in the same manner. Notice how close I'm getting to the beam without getting a single speck on the black. Utilize only a couple of bristles. Now feather over your work to remove imperfections and holidays. You got this. Awesome. Feather your work over. Perfect. Continue down the beam utilizing the same method. Get the bristles of the brush in between the beam and the wall into the crevice, and you're going to have a perfect cut-in job. Notice how I'm doing it here? See how simple it looks? That's because it is. Anybody can do this. Dunk your brush occasionally. Don't overload the paint, and feather over your work. Crucial. Take a little paint. Now we're going to feather over and blend all of what I cut in together so there's enough room to roll over it. Very important. Continue down. Change your hand position. Use your left hand now. Put the bristles of the brush in the crevice. Look at what you've just done. A professional cut-in job. Continue down the light tracking on the ceiling line in the same manner, pushing the paint bristles up under the tracking and then going back over your work to feather and blend it all in. Take your time. Do it right the first time. Dunk your brush. Continue over the top of the beam in the same manner. Shove the bristles of the brush into the crevice where it meets the wall in the black beam. You're going to have a professional paint job, and you didn't spend a lot to get it done. You're looking at 2 brushes at 99 cents, 2 trays at 99 cents, and a quart of paint for $14.39. Continuing along, we're going to shove the brush up under the light tracking again. We're going to apply the paint and then send 3 or 4 bristles up under the track, and then we're going to feather over the work to make sure there's no drips, runs, or sags, or holidays. We want to make sure we blend the work together. Now you're going to do a dunk, dunk, slap, slap. We're going to continue on under the tracking. Then we're going to continue down the wall where it meets the other red wall. We don't have to be too picky here because it's the same paint on both walls. Continue underneath using the same method. Shove the bristles up into the crevice. Go feather over your work. Very important. And finally, dunk your roller in, not all the way. Add the paint to the roller palette and then push it back down. And then you're going to roll the edges of your roller so there's no drips. There's plenty of paint on this roller to start what we're going to be rolling on the wall. Do you see how it's not dripping? Plenty of paint on this roller. Go over to the wall, and we're going to start on the top, and we're going to run it sideways because it's easier to do it sideways than it would be up and down. Continue on underneath. Try to get as close as the beam to put the roller texture over the cut-in texture, but don't touch the beam. You're going to start on the low stuff next and go up and down. There's plenty of paint on the roller. Continue up and down. Go back over your work to get imperfections and lines. Blend it back into the work. See the line right there? Now it's gone. Now you're going to continue on the same method for the rest of the wall. Up and down, long, even. Now what you're looking at is the finished product. Things dry quicker. Some things dry faster than others. The oil paint's going to take time to dry. versus the latex. Now you have a perfect finished interior paint job. This is what you can expect to look at when you're done with the job. Some of it's drying, some of it's not dry. It will dry. We're not going to make you watch the paint dry. It's time-lapsed. If you followed us through to the end of the video, come back and see us for some more DIY interior painting. Thank you for watching. Come back again.